It's in the game.
St James's Park welcomes back UEFA Champions League football. It's match day 2 and Newcastle United are taking on PSV, still flying high from their win against Paris Saint-Germain and currently sitting top of the Champions League phase. Can they keep themselves there tonight? Welcome to match day 2 of the UEFA Champions League then, and Newcastle United stay at home after the clash in the Premier League between themselves and Arsenal at St James's Park. We stay here for a few extra days, and one of the difference a few days has made, it's probably raining now, and I think it was quite gloomy on the weekend. So obviously all the kind of first day matches are, well, not redundant, but it's very early days to be talking about who will go through and who won't under the new format. Of course, as we stated before, I think it's the top 8 that go through bypassing the playoff stage, and all the others have to compete in that to get the last few places. The second half of the 16 place, is it 16? I think it's last 16 in the Champions League, isn't it? I'm trying to remember. I think it's 32 in the Europa League, isn't it? Or something like that. There's been so many format changes in Europe, I can barely keep up. But tonight's match, Manchester United, Newcastle United taking on PSV, which could be quite the interesting matchup. I don't think these clubs have really played each other that much before, so this is going to be rather an interesting one. James Trafford makes his Champions League debut in goal tonight. It's Belady and Kraft in the centre of the park. Try and stop the goals going in. Up front it's Barnes, Gordon and Weezer. And in the middle of the park I think Gudemele starts once again. He's started every single game for Newcastle this season so far. I don't think he's missed one game yet. I think he's been influential in every single one of them. So I think there's a couple of somewhat known names in the PSV squad. I believe Van Bommel is a name people might remember. His name I remember, but I can't really remember what team he used to play for. Dest is another one who's quite familiar. And I think Ivan Perisic and Alassane Pli are a couple of other very notable names in here. I'm trying to see who was on the bench there. I saw a quick glance at someone, and I think it might have been the reserve keeper. I'm pretty sure that was Kovor, who played for Manchester United at one point. He might even be on loan to there. I'm not entirely sure. But in any case, here we go. And, well, for Newcastle, a response is needed. More in the Premier League than right now. They've already somewhat conquered PSG for the moment. And now lead the table. A win here would go to kind of cement that. But this PSV side is very decent, as we said. Even Perisic, Alassane Pli, very decent striker. And I'm very surprised that Pli wasn't really ever brought up in Newcastle's discussions for a striker. I guess PSV probably had a bit of a high price tag on him. And Newcastle really didn't fancy that. And you can probably understand why to a degree. Junior is absolutely tracking down on Andy Gordon. You have to really get up in his jersey to stop him, because if you don't and he's off, Gordon is cleared for takeoff and he's gone. But there, it's very good pressing on him indeed. See the Brini, very decent PSV side. This is a very even match on paper. Van Bommel was burst into the box. James Trafford forced into a save, and it's very difficult with Newcastle whether to praise them for keeping the goals down, or somewhat be critical of the fact they haven't had a clean sheet bar one game all season. It's kind of a weird conundrum there. But they saved more than they let in. Both Pope and Trafford have been relatively speaking, a couple of very decent goalkeepers this year. Pope had a bit of a tough time against Liverpool, but to be fair, I think you're always going to have a tough time against Liverpool, even without the kind of two crucial mistakes Pope made, putting the ball into the back of the net twice. Or really, I think the first one was really just going through him, wasn't it? From the highlights package that we had of that game. And Formaz has picked out Weezer, and Weezer's gone here. And Jollington, oh, it's a good save by the keeper. In comes Anthony Gordon, and it's saved again. And Weezer, it's in. And Newcastle take an early lead. It was going to tell eventually, wasn't it? And another goal for Newcastle, riding him right back from being swept away by Arsenal, really, and shut out. That's the word I was looking for. And Weezer, it's an open net, can't miss. And he didn't. And that was all made by Weezer and Gordon doing very well, and Jollington even with the initial shot. Newcastle, like we said, a lot of different scorers. Yanni Weezer is already sitting on 4 for the Premier League, and Valdemade is sitting on 3. But no one's actually running away with it. It's been a total team effort at Newcastle, and we'll look to do more of that today. Yanni Weezer makes it 1-0, and we'll see what happens from here. Picks out Gordon here. Gordon trying to flick it towards Weezer. It didn't work, but here comes Weezer anyway. And Johnny Tibble to shoot. And the keeper something to think about there. Anyhow, still don't really know where Newcastle truly are yet. Still trying to really find his system. I think defensively, I don't think it matters. Newcastle were 90% likely to concede in every single game this season at the moment. And I don't really think that's Eddie Howe's fault. I think it's just something that Newcastle have to deal with as a fundamental weakness. I don't think it's a tactics issue, and it's certainly not a personnel issue when you consider that Fabian Schär and Botman both started for Newcastle against Arsenal, and they still managed to get a header goal in from a corner. So I don't think it's structural weakness. I don't think it's a tactics issue. It's just something that Newcastle probably just have to deal with as best they can, and I guess one of the best ways to do that is to score more, and generally they do, but against Arsenal they were shut out completely. But here they come, Anthony Gordon with space to run at. We've seen him score for this before, but not today. And that's how the Premier League started for Newcastle United, with Gordon running away. The difference is he scored against Aston Villa, but not there. That was really unfortunate, but Gordon, he's got so much pace to burn. The boy is an absolute roadrunner, as it were. Reminds me of a very young Ryan Giggs, who used to fly down the wing like that. Ironically, Giggs would normally be on the left-hand side. That guy was a wizard. And whereas Gordon doesn't have the wizardry, he certainly has the pace, that's for sure. And that's going to be really, as we've said a couple of times this season, that really seems to be Newcastle United's way of attack, really. Attack with blistering pace, because they have the pace to burn. Not so much in Harvey Barnes, he's maybe a little bit slower, but he can contribute in other ways. Weezer. So Barry. Sonne play. Dodo.
We've had a pair of keys handed into reception. Please, can you go to reception if you've lost your keys?
Strange PA announcement. Someone's lost their keys by the sound of it. Here comes Gordon again. Gordon is just going to go on his own. It's going to go through the defender and in the back of the net. Anthony Gordon scores another. And he didn't miss that time. Now, will it count? I think it will, because I think it went as on target. Let's see. I think it comes off. Does it come off the keeper or the defender? Terrible camera, I can't really tell. It might have even just gone straight through for Anthony Gordon, actually. I mean, the goal was credited in because it was definitely on target. So Newcastle have already pulled out a lead. 2-0. We've only played about 25 minutes. It's a long time to hold on, though, as Newcastle game with Bournemouth will attest to. Well, I think in many cases they were hugely unlucky. Ave Guerra was on the line but didn't stop the ball from crossing it. Second goal was a really well taken goal by Dikente, and then there was a penalty which happened so fast I almost missed it completely, or at least leading up to it. Bingo. Here's Van Bommel. It may have been Brighton. It's a name I remember for sure, but I can't really put a club to his name, but I definitely have seen it before. Weezer picked out Jolinton here to increase the lead, and it's a save by Olgi. Tried to cut into a side there, Jolinton. The keeper, fully stretched, made the save. And it was a corner that was headed away, and now away come PSV, but shut down immediately. I think it's Atlanta. I'm not sure who the opponents are, but it's 1-0 in that game in any case. Oh, he was pushed. And probably been called back for a foul. Pretty sure there was a Van Bommel called Mark once. Now that I think about it. I think he was a free kick specialist, if I remember rightly, as well. Just take free kicks very well. And also, I'm pretty sure there was a Mark Van Bommel that played for PSV twice in his career. I don't know if that's wholly true or not, but it is a name I remember. It's going to bug me. I'll probably have to research that at half time and let you guys know. It's just a name that I remember somehow. And now here's Harvey Barnes. Look at all the space he's got. Couldn't cross it in. Here's Perisic. Fearman. There by Jolinton. And I think it's Warbag, and I'm not sure who their opponents are, but they lead by 2-0. Junior almost fell to the ground there. Here's Van Bommel. Kraft, the ball was deflected out for a free kick. Now, who's it to? That's the question. And it is to PSV and Ivan Perisic, bit of a set-piece specialist here. should be able to get through this quick, quite honestly. Well, here's Perisic with the ball and headed towards goal, and for a change, James Trafford saves a great header. It's a brilliant save by Trafford. Bubbled again. And in comes Plea, but he's out for a goal kick. Here's Dest. Sprouted. Veerman. Perisic. PSV just don't look like scoring right now, even though that shot ahead of there from Trafford was saved. I think it was the first chance PSV have actually created. Oh, Air Gordon is cleared for takeoff. Here he goes. Finds Weezer, who finds Joeington. And Harvey Barnes is coming in on the right. And Dest clears it. And that is the end of the first half. A first half thoroughly dominated by Newcastle United to a degree. 2 up on the scoreboard. And 1 goal for Anthony Gordon and the other for Yone Weezer. And aside from that header that was beautifully saved by Trafford, PSV have rarely threatened. Newcastle lead 2-0 at the break here. Welcome back to the second half. And if my research is correct, let's see. Ruben van Bommel is the son of Mark van Bommel, who's a name I remember. I think he played for PSV at least once or twice. I think he played for Bayern Munich as well. So it runs in the family when it comes to Van Bommel and PSV. I don't think Mark is the coach right now. I think he coached Antwerp at one point. Not really up on it. This is all through Wikipedia half-time research. But in any case, the game here today has been mostly dominated by Newcastle United. They lead by 2-0 and have looked relatively comfortable so far. But we know that sometimes the game can go anyway. And Newcastle know that to their extent this season. Another poor pass from a goalkeeper. That really needs to be sorted. Eddie Howe certainly needs to kind of get their distribution better. Like we said a few times this year, their ball efficiency hasn't been altogether impressive. It has led to nervy moments. You're not going to keep the ball for the whole game. But Newcastle tend to lose it quite a lot. Well, next for Newcastle will be an interesting game. Ange Postecoglou, and I'm finally getting his name right. Ange Postecoglou has been doing a very decent job lately at Nottingham Forest. He came into the job very late in a very bizarre managerial switch after Nuno Santos, I think his name was let go after criticising the board. Sacked immediately on the spot. Bayern Munich, by the way, speaking of them earlier, I think it's is it Luis Diaz? Is it Liverpool now? Bayern Munich now? I think he scored for Bayern Munich, and I think they're 2-0 in front. I think it's Luis Diaz, isn't it? Because Ruben Diaz is at Manchester City. So, and I don't think Luis Diaz is at Liverpool anymore. So, yes, it probably would be him that scored for Bayern Munich. And here's Van Bommel. What a moment for him. Saibari. Delightful ball in, and Trafford gets there first. Again, not the greatest of throws, but Barnes does have it. All to Barnes. Really with a lot of pace to burn. He's one of the slower players in the team. Harvey Barnes can contribute in a lot of other ways. I think he whips a wonderful ball in when he gets a chance. Oh, there you go. Oh, and he's actually showing his strength and physicality here, Harvey Barnes. He's got to score. Oh. Well, that effort deserved a goal from Barnes. Wonderfully played. And I think you've got to really credit Newcastle for that. They press really well and they make teams run. And sometimes they actually, teams run into them and then they get the ball and then they break away. It's definitely been, it's pressing mixed with wing play. Eddie Howe has done that very well at Newcastle this season. It just needs to be probably a little bit tighter at the back, but then again, it's not really been most anyone's fault. It's just the way football is. It's what you do around that time that defines you, and Newcastle have been defined as a very speedy team with a lot of goals potential in them. Arsenal, that game against Arsenal was the first time they've been shut out this season, as it were. Perisic. And Van Bommel's night is over in a PSV substitution as man comes on. I think Newcastle made a switch, or were going to, but I think they've decided against it for now. Oh, good tackle. Barnes is doing spins. I don't think he meant to do that. Here's play, and here's Perisic. Perisic again into the Old Trafford. Oh no! And Dodo has that's an error on his part. What happened there? That's a total breakdown. It's a good shot from Perisic, to be fair, and Trafford with a good save, but what was Dodo doing? What was that about? I think, to be fair, he was trying to control it with his leg, but oh, that's really sloppy. I think that's the first bit of bad defensive play that Newcastle have had all season long. They've been somewhat solid despite the conceding and leaking of goals, but oh, why didn't Dodo just wait for it to hit the ground? I think he wanted to get it away quickly. I can understand it because many of the strikes that Trafford or Pope has saved sometimes have ended up at the feet of head of opponents for an easy tap in. So I would assume Dodo was probably trying to avoid that by trying to clear it away, but there was no one around him. Trafford, I don't think the save from Trafford was going to be in any danger of going in the back of the net. And I think, to be fair, Trafford probably would have recovered by himself and picked up the ball. So I'm not sure what was going on there. I think there was a miscommunication by Trafford and Dodo on that one. And that's a goal of Newcastle United's own making, to be fair. And Quabbag are losing 3-0 now. Larson scored for, I'm not sure what that team that is. Might be Standard Liège, but I'm not sure. Perisic cut up by Baledi. Newcastle aren't having a very decent game up to that point. It's rather kind of quieted down here. I think Newcastle may have took their foot off the gas a little bit. I don't know whether that contributed to it. I doubt it. That was the first real chance PSV have made in this game. But I really think Dodo should have just left the ball and let Trafford go grab it. I think it's a mistake there. Which is unfortunate because Dodo has actually been very good in his Newcastle career so far. He's been very good, along with Ave Guerra. Both of them came over on deadline day. Please save from Trafford. They both came over on deadline day. Dodo from Fiorentina and Guerrero from Valencia. Both impressed immediately. Dodo, unfortunately, has made a bit of an error. And Galatasaray and Atletico Madrid is now 1-1. Weezer. And that would have been a first. Ahead for Newcastle for a change. And double substitution. And Dodo's been dragged by Eddie Howe for Ashby. Schär has also come on as well. And I think there was a third. Ramsey for Barnes. So I'm hoping and I'm assuming that that isn't punishment for his mistake by Eddie Howe. He's not really that kind of manager. And he didn't seem too displeased when he walked off the pitch. It was an error by Dodo, but it wasn't really intentional. But he got dragged for that. I'm going to assume that's not a punishment. It's probably just to freshen things up. Eddie Howe's not really the kind of manager to instantly react on a mistake like that. It was an error by Dodo. He pretty much has hold his hands up to it. His man tackled by Ashby. Big day for him then, because I think it's his first ever Champions League game. He's cleared that away for a corner. Dreaded corner, and here's Perisic now. Take it. You can see that Newcastle fan. She can't look because she probably knows what could possibly happen here. And it's headed away by Guillemales after all that. Ronnie tackled by Gallardi. Another one who's done very well for Newcastle United. All the signings have been very decent pieces for Eddie Howe this season. Let's hope it amounts to something at the end. Oh, please, it's a beautiful ball and a good save from Trafford from the header from Perisic, but he was offside anyway. And James Trafford is starting to show some of that promise he had at Burnley. I think he's starting to see that he could have an opportunity to be the number one in a year or so's time. And he's definitely... I would say he was probably slightly ahead of Nick Pope in terms of performances this season, but only very slightly. And that's because he has a clean sheet that he kept against Exeter City in the Carabao Cup. Howe hasn't kept one clean sheet all season so far. And Osbio. Veerman. Bingo. Now Dest. Now Perisic. Perisic got a lot of space here. Lewis Hall immediately on top of it. Lewis Hall was brilliant. Probably one of Newcastle's best players, to be fair, although he did run into a wall. He's run straight right back again. And Trafford, and there's a mix-up there, and Trafford got the ball, but that was a bit of an nervy moment there. Don't do that again, I think would be the message from Eddie Howe on that one. It was rather nerving, to be fair. Trafford actually going for air there. I'm not sure what that was about. I mean, it paid off, but yeah. Ball in play, and that's a better save from Trafford. There you go, that's better. It's coming good. I mean, he probably would have had a clean sheet tonight had Dodo not made his error. The ball, and Ramsey heads away. Newcastle could do that more often. They wouldn't struggle so much for set pieces. It's something they need to kind of fix. This is something they can build on, though. Barry to Perisic, and now away, and Lewis Hall finds his goalkeeper. And kick it away. Almost made to Weezer, believe it or not. Veerman. Very good tackle there. We're going to flick forward. PSV have come into this game a little bit, but haven't really liked scoring as much. I think we're in the final seconds. Yes, we are. Well, Newcastle, they had it relatively comfortable this game, to be fair. Took a 2-0 lead, never really looked back. It should a 2-1 win. Or a 2-0 goal lead and then never look back. It should have been 2-0. Dodo making a bit of an error for an own goal. James Trafford really unlucky not to have one, to be fair. But it will come, but they certainly need to fix up a few errors that they have done defensively. But then again, as we've said, I don't think Newcastle have played bad defensively. It's just the luck of the game. They take the win here today by 2-1 and still remain top of the Champions League board, I assume. Let's take a look at all the other fixtures from this week's games and what that means for the league table phase. Barcelona beating Sevilla rather comfortably by 3-1. Galatasaray beating Atletico Madrid in the end by 2-1. It was Frankfurt facing Quebec and they won by 4-0. And I think that's Atlanta and Athletic Bilbao. Atlanta winning by 2-1 there. So the Spanish teams having mixed fortunes. Standard Liège beat Chelsea by 2-1 in a shock there. Bayern Munich beating Union Russian club, I think, by 2-1. Juventus winning 3-0 against Benfica. And that was obviously alongside our coverage tonight. And Liverpool beating Marseille by 2-1. And continuing on, Villarreal beating Ajax by 2-1. Ajax with their new logo, which has had divided opinion. Napoli beating Copenhagen by 2-1. Borussia Dortmund thumping Spurs by 4-1. Paris Saint-Germain continuing to struggle as they only managed to draw against Sporting Lisbon. And the same for Real Madrid, drawing against AS Monaco by two goals apiece each. Olympiacos losing to Bayer Leverkusen by 2-1. Arsenal losing to Inter Milan. Probably no real surprise there, to be honest. But only by 1-0, so I would take that. Manchester City won as well. And I'll need to slow these down so I can read what actually happened. So in the league phase then, Newcastle United still lead it. And it's been pretty even between them and Manchester City at the top. Liverpool, in contrast to their Premier League form, sitting in third. In the Premier League, they're sitting on 16th. So a bit of a weird contrast there. FC Barcelona up to 4th. Inter Milan's win against Arsenal puts them up to 5th. Followed by Villarreal, Bayern Munich, Napoli. They just seem to be a team that everyone loves. They're sitting in 8th right now in the automatic places. Juventus and Standard Liège, 9th and 10th. Followed by Atlanta, Frankfurt, Borussia Dortmund down in 13th. Followed by Olympiacos, Club Brugge, Atletico Madrid only 16th. Leverkusen 17th, Marseille 18th, Arsenal dropped to 19th with their loss against Inter Milan, but nothing to worry about. It's only game 2 done, and Inter Milan is a very good squad anyway. Galatasaray, Spurs, Real Madrid down in 22nd, followed by Sporting Lisbon, AS Monaco, Bilbao, Russian Union, I think that is, Hartlepool at 27th, and Paris Saint-Germain now 28th, and I think they are the playoff places. So Benfica's out, as is PSV at the moment. Copenhagen, Chelsea are gone. Well, obviously, we've got plenty of games to play. That's what I mean. If it was staying like this. Ajax, Trabzonspor, Berntloglen and Carbag still yet to score as well. A point, that is.